Alright, so by the time it came up, it actually comes up, I can hold it parallel with the reed. So, now what we're going to do, once you have this, and you remember you have this thread coming up, and you've already made a nice turban below. So you already have the thread comes all the way up to the top, and what we're going to do now is we are going to take off the paper clip and just make the one, so we have the thread down here from the turban, and we have this thread that was attached to the paper clip. Now you just make one loop. So you just go over, and you're going to hold that underneath your thumb. So now you have a looped from the first wire, and you have the thread down here. Now what we're going to do is actually going to start wrapping the area between the third and the second wire. And I only like to do this part a couple times like this, and then I actually just twist with the mandrel. And using your fingernails, if you have any, push down the thread on occasion. And you want it flat, so you shouldn't have any bunching. You just keep going all the way up to the second wire. And I like to push down the thread on occasion, because this is where we want to make sure that it's fully covered. Remember, the color doesn't serve a purpose, but the actual thread does, and the wrapping of the reed does serve a purpose. The purpose of wrapping a reed is actually to provide support for the spine, so that when you play, the reed doesn't want to collapse. And yeah, you just keep going. It's kind of like a back brace for your spine. I actually like to go past, so remember, keep pushing down that thread. You want to go cover it completely up to that second wire. And I like to go a little bit past, which I'll show you why in a second. So now that I've gone, I like to do just one more so I can return. Okay, so now we have this, and we still have two threads right now. We have a thread that you just wrapped with, and we have the thread, a separate thread, all the way down here from the looped wire. What you're actually going to do now is take your pliers and take that loop and kind of expand it. Don't let it off. I mean, you can let it off in a second. So now I have a little loop sitting here. I don't know if you can see. Okay, so now you can cut the wrapping thread from, not the loop, this other thread, and you want to cut it so that it's shorter than this throat. I know it's hard, it seems kind of small, but you want to cut it actually so that it's shorter. And you can use scissors, or I just use my wire cutters because that's what I have. Alright. And now you have a small tiny piece, and what you want to do is you want to pull it through the loop towards you. So now I have a loop with some thread and the thread from below. And now you have this other piece of string down here. You're actually going to pull this and make sure that the piece you just cut is through that loop. And what you're going to do is you're just going to pull down so that it brings that loose piece that we just cut, it actually knots. It makes a knot. So now you only have one piece of string, and you pull it down, and that's why I like to do one extra up here, because now it pulls it down a little bit, and you can just spread it out over the reed. Okay, so now you have one loop hanging out, or one piece of string hanging out, and now you cut it and make sure that it's really tight. I just like to give it an extra pull, and cut it as close as possible to the turban, because like I said, it's really sharp when it dries. Okay, so now we have this nice little cool thing. But this is where the nail polish comes in, or the Duco cement if you like it. But if you do use Duco, I highly suggest having a window or a fan out because it really smells. It's gross. And then you just coat the reed and the turban. You only go up to the second wire and just coat the entire wrapping twice. I actually like to do one, and then if I'm making multiple reeds at once, then I like to wrap those and come back and repaint it. So you should do 2 coats, 2 to 3 coats. Yeah. And I'll talk about real fast while I'm doing this. there's different methods. Like people, like I use a thread, and that's the most common. There's actually another one that I know somebody named Peterson, and I just found it, where you they'll use like polystyrene acrylic. And what it is pretty much like a hot glue, and it's like a super hot glue, and they'll just put hot glue on top of the wires in between and use that as a wrap, and it will spin it while they're doing it, and so they'll just glue it together, and it makes a really cool like plasticky looking film over it. There's different colors, so you don't have to have a clear reed. You can actually have like purples and blues and greens and oranges. So I've seen those before, and so now I put on 2 coats, and now you just let it sit for another day. Yay! And then the next day or two, I actually just let it sit for a day or two, and I come back every day or every other day if you're like me, and check the first and second wires again. They will loosen. So there you go. You just wrapped a reed. Yay! And you'll just do it on another reed, or like I said, it takes practice. Yeah, but you leave it overnight to dry. At least one night at the bare minimum. So I'll come back to you when that happens. Okay, bye.